Good morning, and thank you for joining us for our weekly webinar this morning. Today we're talking about how to make your forms look good. We haven't done a webinar on UI design for about 2 years, I want to say. It was kind of surprising that we hadn't, so we're doing it again. And today's demo, we're specifically talking about these 4 techniques. Actually, we have a bonus technique after this. But we have 4 techniques we're talking about today. Responsive design for different resolutions, aka mobile. We're looking at devices that have lots of pixels per inch, or dots per inch, as they used to say. So that's like a retina display. We're looking at making your forms beautiful. And for those of you who saw the 5th element, you want to be a supreme being, right? So we've got CSS tricks. And I am very happy to introduce Mel Clemente, who is the goddess behind all of these tricks. And Mel is going to be walking you through them. Mel?
Wow, that's a great introduction. Thank you. So, I guess, yeah, I'd love to be the goddess of making forms beautiful. Um, so let's see here. Can you see my screen, Patrick?
Yep, that's good.
All right. So, like Patrick said, we're going to show you how you can create a responsive design for your forms, targeting different resolutions in your devices. So the key thing there, the key technique there is to just make sure that all the widths in your tables are specified to have 100% width. And I guess before jumping on to the next, I'm just going to show you how to do that. Let's see here. So I wanted to start with a blank template just to show you how to, how the magic happens from almost empty to getting there, right? So this is a blank template. However, I've already injected it with Q rules. This is Qdabra's magic, secret ingredient, right? So we've got this Q rules, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this table and go into my page design. I'm going to select the one of the defaults, default layout here. Let me just pick something like this, and I'm going to insert a table. So right there, we've got our theme and basic theming, and then our default table there. So let's just call this sample form. And we're going to add some controls here, some fields. I'm going to try and make this really quick because I've got some other goodies for you today. And just 3 fields would do for now. So I'm just dragging them into my layout here. All right, and then, so that's all I did. I just created a form there with fields and default table layout, nothing special. I'm going to show you uploading this into Forms Viewer, which I hope everybody's familiar since this show this technique is meant for Forms Viewer. Patrick's going to talk to you about that later.
Well, Forms Viewer is InfoPath
So
2016. For those of you who don't know, we have a backup for your forms, and that's called Forms Viewer. Not only is it a replacement for InfoPath in the browser, but it also has lots of other features, like Mel's going to show you.
yeah. So here I've uploaded that form, and it's a lot easier than having to go to the publishing wizard and publishing to IPFS, right? So I just dragged and dropped there, if you noticed. So here we don't have anything special happening, like I mentioned. So if I like open this form in my device, my mobile, for example, which has a not that wide of a screen, I won't be able to see all the content of the form unless I scroll to the right, scroll back to the left, and so on. So what we mean by responsive design is however wide or narrow my device is where I'm opening the form, I want things to just auto adjust, right? And we can do that by going back in our form here. So we've got our layout there, we've got Q rules. We then set this Q rules finish loading node. This is as good as saying run these rules on load, right? So I'm gonna go and use a CSS file, custom style sheet file, right? And first, I want to add that CSS file. I'm going to show you that in a notepad later. So the CSS file that I'm using is called wrap.css because I just want things to wrap based on the device the forms open from. So now that I have that in the resource files, I can then call the curls command loads resource file. So it's called load resource. And the parameter is the name. So it's going to be the name of my file. So wrap.css. Telling curls to on form load, load that resource file. All right. And let's see what happens. Then I'm just going to save this and re-upload. So you can drag and drop or just click on that box and find your X's in, whatever's
So that's
easier.
all there is to it. So is wrap something that anybody can use in any form, or is it just for this sample form?
It can be used in any form, and I'll show that whatever needs to be adjusted in the text editor as soon as we see the magic here. So now I have this form that fits my, my window width, but I'm still not quite seeing things wrap as far as column goes. So we know that we have two columns here for the label and the control itself, right? That's because there is a separate like HTML tag for columns. So I did that for the tables. And just to avoid confusion here, let me jump into my CSS file right now. So I've got these styles here. So I'm saying for any the form layout tags in my HTML, which is my view.xsl file in that info path form, right? Make sure that the width is 100%. And that's important because there might be other styles, but specify there in the info path that info path uses by default. So I just want to make sure that this is what's being followed first. So XD form layout. Then I also added the XD co layout for my columns to be 100% because as you can see, let's go ahead and extract. I'm just going to close this form because I won't be able to see my source files if I have that open. So I'm using 7-zip and extracting to a folder to get my form source file. So this is now broken down into source files. So now I want to see my XSL file, see how the HTML is, the underlying HTML is configured here. So here we'll see table XD form layout. This was a table that I added into the form, and it's already using the XD form layout where I called in my CSS file to do 100% of that. So any XD form layout tags, make sure it's with this 100%. However, for the column, there's no default. No, there's style. There's your style. So it's fixed on 314px, and I just want to do say follow the class XD co-layout because that's what I have in my CSS file. So something like that. And I'm going to do it for the other column too. So have those classes. And if you're doing this in an existing form, so all you have to do is just go find and replace, and you're going to look for, because again, by default, columns are done like without the class, right? So something like that, right? You just want to replace it with this one here, this time with class out and just do replace all. And since I already have those two, I don't have anything to replace with. So we actually include these instructions in our Forms Viewer Starter template. So this is going to get easy for you once you get the hang of it. All right, so we've got our XD form layout figured out. We've columns, and so I save that file, and let's go open the manifest in the designer again and save over XSN. And you're not going to notice anything obvious in the designer because again, things are happening behind the scenes in the underlying HTML and that CSS file. So I'm just going to overwrite this guy here and republish by selecting my XSN and uploading and reopening.
That's so fast.
It was I let me know if
The word is
people might be.
spoken. I think you have to think about
Yeah.
Jim Carrey.
Okay, so now that I'm dragging my window here, it looks like this is what I need. I want things to auto-adjust based on the width of my screen, right? So again, that's the table layout and the columns layout. We've got, let's see. Yes, I'm on the webinar right now. Okay,
Very
so
cool.
that's it for for creating responsive design, and that's just a simple form. You're going to get even more creative with your existing forms, and so you're also going to want to target mobile devices, right? So how are you going to make sure that for high resolution mobile devices, how are you going to be sure that things are going to, display nice and beautiful? So let's see, I have a sample form here, and actually that's later. This is what I want to show. So here's a sample form that does the same, auto fits based on the device, but I've got separate views in this guy. I've got the desktop view and a mobile view, because for desktop, I don't necessarily need my, fonts to be bigger, for example, and if I'm viewing it on the desktop, I don't want to, I won't have a screen this narrow, right? So I want it separately. So when I open this form, it just shows me this nice um, wide layout. And you'll notice that I have some other stuff going on here, drop down boxes in the, with a rounded corner there, opposite direction, right? And also the text boxes, they're colored, not your ordinary info path out of the box form. And here's, we have a bubble pop up here too. So that's all done in CSS. And so, yeah, lots of cool things to do with CSS, right? So if I,
Can you put a link of that into the chat window so people can try the anonymous link to see how it looks on their machine?
yeah, sure.
Maybe.
Let me grab later or now.
I was just going to, yeah, obviously they're going to need to copy the link and send it to themselves so they can see it on their mobile.
Yeah, let me grab that for you. Send it in chat.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
And everyone else can try it.
Yeah, and this form also has rules to determine the device it's being opened from, and should automatically switch you to the mobile view, and which I'm going to show right now. So I do that by clicking on this icon right here. Just we're rotating that there so that if I'm viewing it on my mobile device and I just want a bigger, wider view, I can switch on and off. So now I'm on mobile, and the first thing you'll notice are bigger fonts here, right? And again, this is meant for mobile devices. So if I, simulate opening this form in my mobile device, I get a better, more intuitive, user-friendly view right there, as opposed to switching back to the desktop where the fonts are small, right, and scrunched down. So if you want to provide your mobile users the same, the best user experience, I guess, in your forms, not only on their desktop machines. So that's all about mobile. And for the techniques, it's actually the same technique as far as making the widths, adjusting the widths here. Um, so one difference is that in the designer itself, you're just gonna make your forms bigger here, like yeah, just the font size. So make it 16. We use 16 by default. That by experience, that's what we find the best font size. But you can, whatever fits your needs, work. Also, let me show you back here in the wrap some separate separate styles here for when this is being opened from an iPad device or from an iPhone 6. It's basically the same stuff here, but for iPad, for example, you don't want it necessarily to occupy the entire iPad width. You just want it 80% of my iPad width, right? So something like that. And there's max width specified. So if the form detects a device that has 760px width, right, minimum device width. So these are additional tags there that you can use for anything specific.
Oh,
All right, and we're
your
shipping this wrap
voice, yeah,
dots.
your voice is modulating a bit, so just you might want to slowly talk consistently or something. I don't know. That's gonna.
Slowly. Sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, I was saying that you can just we're gonna ship this wrap.css file to you, so you can play with it in your forms, and actually know how you can, just make things easier, make your life easier as far as using this technique. And I'm gonna switch to that next slide. Step 4 is all about, or slides 3 and 4 here, they're all about CSS tricks. All right. So for number 3 here, background is bezels and shadow boxes. And step 4 is more advanced technique of how you can, get even crazier with your styling. So for the image, I've got this sample here. All right. So here you see there's a background image on top of buttons, and if I hover over these buttons, they're actually transparent. All right, and again, this you can't do in your InfoBath out of the box functionalities, and the cursor also changes to a pointer. All right, and there's this handy Chrome feature. There's still it also Internet Explorer also has this. If you right click anywhere on the page, you'll see the inspector. And right here on the fly, you can make you can modify your HTML and CSS elements as you see fit. And we'll just actually inspect this button here. Um, see, so this is the HTML tag that is being used for buttons. And in my CSS file, I said that my background color is going to be orange and font will be white and all those kind of stuff. So what's responsible for that transition, for that transparency, is this guy right here, background color. All right, and let's see here, what else? Cursor pointer. So if I uncheck this here and hover over, I lose that cursor. So right there, I can see my changes. I can make my changes. I can change the color of this to something red or blue, right? And then if I'm happy with my changes, then I can just modify my CSS file into form resource files. Okay. And further, let's
How
move
did you
on.
get to that inspector there again? You just right clicked, right?
Yeah, right click anywhere on the page in your browser and to inspect, or Control Shift I for
And what?
keyboard
Yeah. And
shortcut.
what about for IE? Do you know what it is? For IE, is it like F11 or something? I forget.
I don't think it's F11. It could be F12. But if you right click, there should be an inspector as well.
Okay.
It says
Cool.
inspect, I think. Same thing.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, so that's for background, and that's for slide 3. And scary good CSS tricks. Let's show you our leave request. This is our internal form, and don't be very shocked by it. It's got scary good CSS. So right now our season is we're on fall, and you'll see that background. And the nice thing about this form is that it's got the rounded corners in my sections there. And I see separate sections for employee details, approvers. It's just, make the form, um, whoever's filling out the form just gets a better experience, right? If you're the approver, if you're the employee filling out the request form, and we've got the same transparency and the submit and close buttons down here. And the bonus for today is if I select, because the usual way for filling out this form is by specifying start date. I want to go on vacation on December because it's Christmas season, and so I'm going to pick somewhere around the 22nd. And you see how the background changes dynamically based on which season I'm taking the vacation for, right? So if I want to take a vacation in summer or spring, not from the US, sorry. So yeah.
When is summer there?
So depending. No, yeah, there you go. There's summer, August. Yeah. So depending on the start date, I'm selecting the background image changes dynamically. So what else do we have here? So we've got the show winter, right? Summer, spring. I think that's it.
Well, show them the calculations. Is it calculating the hours between the start date and the end date?
Yep. So if I want to go be realistic and I'm
Whoa,
gonna
whoa.
go on vacation.
Your voice is really modulated. Can you say that again?
Yeah, so if I want to go on vacation tomorrow, which I am gonna, I picked start day tomorrow and I'm gonna come back on Monday. So now my total hours there. So aside from it picking the right day of week there, I didn't have to select it. It auto calculates the day of the week there. And I'm going to select another one here. So it
That's cool.
sets Wednesday. Yep.
Oh, it's red.
And there's validation because I can't, I can't go backwards. So yeah, let me select that
What?
again.
And
And auto
it's not
count.
calculating. Yeah, it's not calculating the weekend is either, is it?
It's not.
Very cool.
So yep, if I do like come back on the 25th, then I used up 24 hours of my PTO there.
I
And
think,
it
I think
also shows us.
just one day, Mel. That's all I need, right?
Nice try
You
there.
take some more vacation though. You've only got 12 hours. I think your other requests aren't in here, maybe. But,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's beautiful, beautiful. Way to go. And what about the bezels? Did we want to show them bezels, or are we going to save that for another rainy day?
I guess so, yeah. Bezel shadows, I can actually, let's try shadows here. So I'm going to pick something that is less darker, a background image that's less darker. You'll actually see the shadow underneath my sections there. And that we can show you, can try adjusting that. And it is, where is that? It's actually I'm going to
And
think it's a border.
so it's all CSS, right?
It's all CSS, yeah.
Cool. Did you find it?
Let's
We
see
are
here.
drilling down. While
Drilling down.
she's finding the border and the shadow, if people have questions, please do feel free. It looks like we already have at least one. Oh, that's the chat. If you have questions, please throw them in the question dialogue now. We're about another 2 or 3 more minutes to go. We're going to talk a little bit about Forms Viewer, and then we are going to send you this package of samples. And actually, Mel, it'd be kind of cool to show, maybe I can do this, but if you can show the leave request form in the designer real quick after you're done with this. Oh, there's the shadow. Cool.
Yeah, there's the shadow.
So if you change it from 60 pixels to something else, just change it and see what happens.
Yeah, let's go overboard here, 600,
Okay.
but let's go 160, yep. And I can change the color too right here. So if I pick blue, there you go.
Oh, wow. Wow, you can really see it there. Okay, cool. So let's do this. Let's show them in the designer what this form looks like real quick. Because this is just an info path form, and we are adding designer features to Forms Viewer, but you can see here that the images actually don't even show up. The images are, where are the images? Are they stored in a resource file?
No, they're stored in the web. So it's actually on our Office 365 here site assets, but you can just grab things from Google, I guess. So it's not part of the form, and so that makes the form less,
It's weighty. Where is it referring to if you wanted to show people where that was actually pulling those images from, is that all in the JavaScript, the custom stuff?
It's in the CSS file. So right here, so the leave request form is calling another CSS file that is called the styles.css, and there's a lot more stuff in there. The site wrap, site header, And these are the background images. There are URLs there, image URLs.
Oh, I see. You get the winter, spring, summer, and autumn there. Cool,
Mm-hmm.
cool. So they could just replace those links with their own links, and it would
That's right.
work for them. Awesome. But you might want to
Mm-hmm.
stick with our links because we've got some good images. Well, this is great, Mel. I'm going to take the presenter thing again here. Just want to quickly recap what your awesome demo showed. And so today, Mel went over these 4 techniques. Actually, we had a bonus technique. She showed how to do the responsive design. The key thing there is 100% width for tables. She showed how to make your forms look good on small devices that have high resolution by increasing the font size. She also showed, are we seeing this? How to do these advanced tricks for background images and the shadow box. We did not show the bezels. That's, I think, for another webinar. And then finally, I don't know if you noticed, but on one of the demos, did we show the anchoring of the header? I forget. Is that in the leave request form?
That's in the leave request form, right?
Okay. So we did the anchoring of the header. We did these transparent buttons, and we showed this technique to automatically give you a dynamic background that is transparent. These sections are actually semi-transparent too. And that's all using this custom Forms Viewer extension, which is in the leave request form that we'll give you. So if you're using Forms Viewer, you'll be able to see that. If you're not, it'll still work in InfoPath. Forms Viewer is our replacement for InfoPath. We want to give our customers a free future for their form investment. So Forms Viewer is free for on-prem deployment. We're consultants. We just charge for our time. In the cloud, we have to use an Azure service to uncab the XSN files, and that does cost some money. So we do charge a small amount of money per site if you go over a certain number of opens per month per site, but it's really, really small. And we have better performance. As you saw, Mel was just dragging and dropping to publish. Forms Viewer also includes all these new features like customizing with your own JavaScript to get that background dynamic image. But we also have custom signature controls, and we're doing a lot of stuff with big data web services. I'd encourage you to look at our past webinars. We did face identification about 3 weeks ago, and before that we did Google-based optical character recognition using a Google Vision API. Really cool demos in September. Anyway, we're shipping 2.3 in November. 2.3 will come with more design features. So we're actually looking at rules. We're looking at allowing you to edit rules and add new rules from the browser, so you don't have to open it in InfoPath Designer. And we already have some small amount of designer features to allow you to submit your forms, map them to a SharePoint list. But we'll be adding rules hopefully in November's release. And if you're interested at all, there's a couple links here. You can take a look at our overview video or go to our website and download it. We have free classes. Probably the next one's going to be in December. And now, if you have questions for us on what you saw, if you want us to go back to it, and we have a question. Thank you, Marlon. And thank you, Marlon, for being here. I think you were the first one that arrived. We will send the links in the chat. Yeah, we can do that. So we'll send the links to the, do you want the links to the Forms Viewer stuff? I will paste those into chat. We'll be sending out these links in email as well, so you should get them. Any other questions? And it looks like you're the only one, Marlon, that's asking a question. We'll give it another minute here. Thanks for the feedback too. That's great to hear that you like the demo. It's all Mel today. It's all Mel and Jimmy. They're the ones that put together this very awesome demo, and beautiful form. And I don't know, did I get it? Okay, those are the links. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we look forward to having you here next week. And stay warm. It's getting cold out there. Take care.
Take care, everyone. Thanks.